Well, as you know how things go, 20 minutes now after 9 a.m. Today, looking at moments in current affairs and the things that are affecting us, both nationally, continentally, and as well as internationally, depending on what the interest is for us and how it will affect us as South Africans living at home, living all over the continent, and those also living abroad. Good morning and welcome to it. Just looking at some of the different stories that we are coming into contact with, you might think to yourself, things are getting a bit hectic. But, that's all in a day's work for a country like South Africa. We are one definitely eventful country. I can say that without any fear or favor. So the online narratives that surfaced following the death of Zimbabwean Elvis Nyati in Diepsloot appear to have been manipulated to sow discord between South Africans and resident foreign nationals. From the 7th of April, the news of the death of Elvis Nyati inflamed social tensions and around the work of Operation Dudula, a self-appointed watchdog on the issue of illegal immigrants. For the Center for Analytics and Behavioral Change found that the conversations about Nyati were present on multiple digital platforms like YouTube, news sites, and forums. However, the largest volume of conversation was found on Twitter, where posts that contained the name Elvis Nyati reached a peak on the 8th of April of almost 6,000 mentions. Now, conversation volume growth for the name Elvis Nyati. Nyati is a Zimbabwean surname, as it is a South African surname, and it's also a clan name. So, early in the conversation, one of the trending topics within the Elvis Nyati conversation was the Tembisa 10. This can be seen as an illustration as well. There is an illustration about it, basically showing a dead Elvis Nyati lying in the street, heavily injured in Togo. And this would, of course, spark a big outcry. But now the conversation is going towards who was driving the conversation behind that and who Nyange wanted to make this sow divisions within the country. We'll remember last year, June, what happened when the looting started in KZN and parts of Mpumalanga as well as Gauteng. There was initially a lot of conversation happening that was regarding how they were going to move forward with the court case of President Jacob Zuma. In fact, not the court case, but him handing himself over to the police to go to prison. How that became a part of the discussion that eventually erupted in, chaos that happened in these areas that I've mentioned. There was a dialogue behind that, and there was a driving force, a third force, as they would say. And so we want to get to the bottom of things like these before another situation gets out of hand, Upper Mzansi. Further afield, residents of the Ukrainian village deal with devastation left behind after the Russian occupation. Now, Mykola Kravchenko, a resident of a village northwest of Kiev, says that Russian troops killed his son when they occupied the region of the North Ukraine capital city. He said they told them to come out of the house. And he and his wife came out of the house with the guns to their head. They let his wife go and said, "I have 2 kids, don't kill me," and they shot him. Now, Kravchenko's son, one of 40 people in Andrivka who were killed, 6 of them were buried recently in a village cemetery after being exhumed from where they were buried in people's gardens. He says, "I don't have any more tears. What can I do?" Kravchenko says. Now, the most important thing is that my son didn't betray the Ukraine, and that's the most important thing. Fragments of bombs still remain in the village, where not one house appears to have been spared. Several areas have large question marks painted on them, indicating that there could be unexploded devices there, such as mines or bombs. There were estimated 1,000 people lived in the village 60 kilometers north or west of Kiev before the war. Many left before it was under full occupation of the Russians. Coming back home Cash gratifications, university fee payments, and gift of a VW Polo for a daughter who are mentioned in court papers are amongst bribes allegedly made in return for Bosasa being awarded valuable tenders. The story of an alleged corrupt relationship between former Bosasa Logistics Company Chief Operating Officer turned whistleblower Angelo Agrizzi and ANC parliamentarian Vincent Smith is unfolding in court papers. The businessman and politician are seen as key players in the state's case relating to multi-million rand fraud scandal that involved many prominent figures who are political. Agrees sensational and self-incriminating testimony before the Zondo inquiry into state capture lifted the lid on the enormity of the alleged fraud, with Bosasa said to have illegally funneled vast sums of taxpayer money. The scale of the claimed corruption can be judged by the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, devoted the entire third installment of its report to Bosasa, a company that was owned by politically connected Watson family. Now, among the implicated at the receiving end and handsomely benefiting from the illicit deals were former President Jacob Zuma and Smith. Giving evidence at the state capture inquiry in 2019, Agrizzi told the commission how the late CEO of Bosasa, Gavin Watson, made a 300,000 rand payment to Zuma at his Nkandla residence. The commission also heard claims from Agrizzi that Watson was concerned at the time that Zuma wasn't receiving monthly payments to the Jacob Zuma Foundation through the former SA Airways Dudumyeni. Also implicated in the state's case is Andries van Tonder, former chief financial officer of Bosasa, Lindy Morris Mti, former national commissioner of the Department of Correctional Services, and Patrick Gillingham, another former DCS employee. The alleged corrupt relationship between Smith and Agrizzi relates, inter alia, to a 1.8 billion DCS tender fraud case involving Bosasa Operations Limited and the people mentioned above, and in the instance to a bribe Smith is alleged to have received from Agrizzi. Agrizzi told the Zondo Commission that Smith received 100,000 rand monthly payments to influence parliamentary decisions as a member of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and the Correction Services. He said Smith was expected to make sure that Bosasa was awarded the DCS tender. It also emerged that during the inquiry that Bosasa allegedly paid 600,000 for Smith's daughter's overseas university fees. Smith has vehemently denied these claims and maintains he received a loan from Agrizzi to pay for his daughter's fees. The current court processes were preceded by a probe by the Special Investigations Unit following the SIU recommendation. Further investigations were conducted by Hawks, helping the National Prosecuting Authority to complete an indictment and a summary of the facts, thus allowing the matter to go to trial. Lots of stuff was happening there. Attending to the weather that is wreaking havoc on the world, there has been an earthquake initially measured at the magnitude 6.0 on the Richter scale, struck Mindanao Island in the Philippines on Tuesday, and the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, the EMSC. Now, the earthquake was recorded at a depth of 10 kilometers or 6.21 miles. Earlier on Tuesday, Japan also recorded an earthquake in Fukushima Prefecture in the northeast of the country, measuring a magnitude of 5.3 on the Richter scale. There were no immediate reports of damage and no tsunami warning was issued. Coming back home, a humanitarian aid group Gift of the Givers will remain in Langa's Joe Slovo informal settlement, where the fire destroyed hundreds of homes. Now, the blaze broke out on Saturday. The Mustafindin Foundation in Bridgetown and the Herbal Renewal or Rural Development in Langa have been identified as drop-off points for donations for the scores of fire victims. Gift of the Givers volunteers are still hard at work assisting Langa residents who have lost all their belongings in the blaze. The humanitarian aid group, Ali Sablé, said that we've provided them with hot water, hot meals, mattresses, blankets, and hygiene packs. We will be there for the next 3 days until the registration process is complete for social development relief to kick in. About 300 homes were destroyed, leaving more than 1,000 people displaced. At this stage, it's not yet clear what caused the fire. In KZN, the Premier Sihle Zikalala has lashed out at the viral video this weekend after the clip allegedly depicted a municipal water tanker stopping by his home to make a private delivery of water. According to senior politicians, the footage does not tell the whole story. He reasons that the whole community was assisted by water deliveries and his home was seen to just like everyone else. Now, he has since issued a statement on the matter and said it's fair to say that the KZN Premier isn't happy with the way that things have been reported. Zikalala also defended his family, stating that his wife was leading the efforts to provide food to the displaced and destitute. The top ANC figure has rubbished claims that he had prioritized himself. He says, I have seen on social media that there is a video clip that is going viral with someone saying that he is by my house and that there are people who are putting water into my homestead. I think I must clarify that up front. The man is only showing a clip where we called the water tanker to provide water, and after the water was provided to the whole community, we poured water at home. What is not reported is what the family led by my wife is doing in cooking and providing food to the people staging at the community hall. In total, 443 people have died in the KZN floods, with dozens still missing. It's likely that this death toll will rise even further over the Easter weekend. More rain-battered, beleaguered province. Now, the worst natural case disaster on record in South Africa remains the Natal floods of 1987. In this event, the total of 507 people lost their lives. However, it could be surpassed by this most recent bout of extreme weather that has swept along KZN. It is 28 minutes now before 10 o'clock. Going to England, around 50 penalty fines were handed out by the Met Police for events that happened over lockdown. Boris Johnson, his wife, and Chancellor Rishi Sunak have been found to have broken the law and attended at least one of these suspicious events. He is the first prime minister to have been found to break the law. However, how does Boris feel about it? Well, this we need to find out. So Boris said that he will pay the fine but not resign. In a fascinating statement, according to The Guardian, the PM or Prime Minister declared he was mortified to have broken the rules, and he said he did not realize he was in breach of the laws, one that his own administration had put into place. Interesting, Mr. Oh, guys, you know, the further we look into situations like these, I think the more hectic we decide how things are becoming within the nation and also within the world itself, where prime ministers like Boris Johnson can clearly go break the law, which they say now they didn't know was even a law, in order for them to continue whatever it is that the agenda is. However, we do hope that justice be found in the most swiftest of manners. Finally, South Africa has declared a state of emergency or state of disaster after the deadly floods. President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a national disaster for South Africa. This comes a week after terrible floods left at least 443 people dead in one Durban area on the East Coast. The cabinet met in special session last night and decided to declare a state of national disaster. The head of state said in a televised address yesterday, referring to the situation as a humanitarian disaster. He said, tonight we are a nation united in mourning. Some 10,000 troops have been deployed to the affected areas to assist with the overwhelmed relief efforts. The week-long downpour has led to deadly floods and landslides in KZN, where most of the casualties have been recorded so far. So according to the National Meteorological Institute, the rainfall has eased since the weekend and no further flooding is expected in the coming days. Thousands of people have been displaced. Some areas have been without water and electricity. Since Monday, water tankers are trying to bring the drinking water, but roads and bridges are still cut off. Nearly 80% of the drinking water network is out of order, according to the local authorities, who warned that it would take time to restore it. And for the first time on Monday, a water truck appeared in the neighborhood of Pilagahle Kumalo, a 30-year-old mother of two. She, however, says it was not enough and people are desperate. Anyway, brings us to the end of our moment in current affairs. More to come as the program goes. Thank you for joining us and making Moment of Truth your 9 to 12 destination. You could have been anywhere, but this is where you chose to be. And for that, we are eternally grateful.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's see what all the from the states of Africa. We've got you covered.